What's up everybody, it's your boy Reggie Casual and welcome to the state where we explore street culture in Japan and beyond. This past week I had the opportunity to check out ATMOS CON, which positions itself as the Sneakercon of Tokyo. It was pretty interesting, all things considered, but it did leave a bit to be desired. So before we get into that though, let's get in a quick word from our sponsor, then we'll take a look at ATMOS CON and the festivities throughout. Let's get it. This episode from The Casual is brought to you in part by Squarespace. From domains, templates, and themes to analytics and award-winning customer service, Squarespace delivers it in an all-around package so you can get started in no time. I should know, we've used it right here at The Casual. It's pretty amazing. So go ahead and use our code squarespace.com/thecasual to save 10% off on your first purchase and get that site started today. The time is now. You know it's the time. So go ahead and get to it. And now, on to the show. So ATMOS CON, what can I say? This was the 6th one, so it still is quite young as a convention, and to be honest, because of that, I was not at all surprised by the size of the event. It was small, like this. Literally a 10-minute walkthrough, and you've seen everything. And the strongest presence was from Chinese sneaker company Li-Ning. I'm not even sure if I'm saying that right, I just know that they had the biggest booth. More on that in a second. There were your typical booths and whatnot, and all the major players made their presence felt. Nike, Adidas, Adidas, ASICS, Reebok had a small booth, K-Swiss, and some more contrarian sneaker suppliers as well. But one thing that I did take notice of was what I was mentioning before at Li-Ning. Forgive me if I'm saying it wrong, but they brought an entire retail booth. I just thought I should mention that. They had the biggest presence as far as real estate is concerned, and I was surprised to see so many people engaging with it. There were plenty trying to get in on some of the Chinese companies' unique take on sneakers, and it was quite impressive. So tip of the hat to them. Nike's booth was a bit more phoned in. They showcased some of the customs from designers they've commissioned, and they also had a little arts and crafts thing going on. Basically, you could take a little paper model and make your own little Air Max. It seemed like the presentation, the booth, was a little bit more than the actual activity that they had set up, but it's okay. I mean, it's Nike, they're extra, whatever. Adidas was showcasing 4D tech. ASICS had a mini ASICS design booth. Puma had a design contest where you had people sitting down feverishly coloring in sneakers with colored pencils. Other small labels showcased some stuff, and they did have sneaker cleaning at the event, but all in all, it was par for the course. In fact, it was odd, to say the least, because once you were through all of those things, it got quite lackluster. ATMOS CON, while good in theory, just has a long way to go as a sneaker con, and that may be surprising considering how extra Tokyo can be, and the fact that we've been experiencing a massive sneaker boom over the last 5 to 6 years. And as a single retailer, which ATMOS officially is, it leaves out competitors like Kinetics, Kixlab, Billy's, ABC Mark, Randstage, Undefeated, smaller shops, resellers, and a slew of others that could have taken part in this convention. And that is a big oversight in my opinion. Without the entire community representing things, it just got empty and quiet and just unrelatable. In fact, it seemed like a good many of the people who attended were more concerned with performances by DJ Soda than the actual convention itself. And that's what made me realize how much potential was left on the table. I mean, sneaker flexing was all over the place, and that's a given. But if you're anywhere close to a sneaker enthusiast, you've seen all these sneakers before. But you go to sneaker cons to connect with the community even further. This Sneakercon's aim was certainly not about that. It was more about giving bigger brands a chance to showcase some okay cool stuff or engage with sneaker enthusiasts. And mainly because I think this culture just isn't there yet as far as the community is concerned. Certainly there is depth to the sneaker community in Japan. I don't mean to say that. It is quite popular. There are players like King Masa on Instagram and a few Japanese celebs, and of course designers that get down with collabs and whatnot. But that coalition was not present in any form at ATMOS CON, at least from what I could tell being there. And I hate to say that because the potential, as I said, was there. But in my personal opinion, the best way to make it better would be for ATMOS to relinquish the keys to the castle and allow a separate organization or entity to create a Sneakercon in Tokyo that's not a competing retailer. Just so there's more of a true representation of the culture in Tokyo. I mean, there were areas in the building on the floor that were absolutely empty. And there were no regular individuals showing off or even selling off collection. It was weird because that's what sneaker cons are about, right? It was like a party event, but also like a big advertisement event rather than a convention. It was just a poor choice in layout considering that there was an entirely different room that had much of nothing inside of it except an ATMOS wall and a DJ merch selling booth. And there were other rooms they could have used as well, on the same floor. What made it even more odd was that currently we're in this boba boom in Japan, you know, like milk tea. It's very popular right now. And it's gotten so crazy that it was right in the middle of ATMOS CON in its own room, right before the main floor. And it had the longest line, the longest. It wasn't a problem until I realized that there was literally a bar counter down the hall that would have been perfectly out of the way of the actual convention, and they could have used that same boba room for something else. Something, you know, I don't know, sneaker related. But they didn't. It was just boba. Now, admittedly, these are small complaints. These are small potatoes, but they added up to bigger issues because these decisions made the event a bit soulless, even though there were plenty of marginally cool activities to take part in. It was just too rigid or completely missed the target. The layers of thought catered to the Japanese audience, which it should, don't get me wrong. It's in Japan, but sneaker culture is a global community. And ATMOS CON would have served itself much better if it had remembered that and took some cues or inspiration from what happens out west, particularly getting the entire community involved instead of banking on itself as one retailer to put it all together. I will say this though, it was well executed. Everything went as expected and it appeared to go off without a hitch. There were no delays or anything like that. Aesthetically, it was everything that you would love about Japan. It did do that well, even if the events and the booths were a bit overblown. But such is the case in Japan. Everything is always in order and look nice. But in this case, it was just a bit underwhelming and a bit small. And that was disappointing, mainly because if you've been to any great convention in Tokyo, they are amazing. So in the end, was it worth it? I think if you're in Tokyo for the first time and you want a quick look at street culture, fashion, and sneakers, and you come out around March, ATMOS CON might be a quick 2-hour stop, but you'd probably be better served by not paying the 1,200 yen to enter, which is around $12 USD, and just walk around Harajuku, Omotesando, and Minami Aoyama for a few hours for free, and you'd basically get the same thing and more just without the cool booths. But honestly, all the major stores in Harajuku, especially the sneaker ones, have awesome in-store stuff and booths as well. So yeah, you pretty much aren't missing out on anything. In any case, tell me what you thought of ATMOS CON. I know I didn't give it a great review here, but do you think you would still be interested in going? And what improvements could be made in the future? Maybe they'll read this, whatever. We can hope, we can only hope. Let it be known in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Anyway, give a thumbs up if you like this video. Follow your boy on Instagram at Reggie Casual and The Casual Official at thecasual.co. Also a big shout out to Squarespace for sponsoring this episode of The State. Save 10% by using our code in the description below. So shite, mada yatte inai nara subscribe useranai youni. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, but most importantly, keep it locked right here for all of your info on international street fashion and culture from Tokyo. It's your boy, and keep it casual. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu, and I'll see you guys in a minute.